Good morning, students. Welcome back to the last module of the lesson power sharing. I hope you all must have understood the first two modules. Some of you have written your doubts in the comment box. I would request you clearly mention the area of your doubt so that I can clarify it. In this module, we would be dealing with two topics, that is the need for power sharing and the forms of power sharing. Now the first question is, why is power sharing desirable? Means, why do you think it is important to have a power sharing? When we studied about the two case studies, Belgium and Sri Lanka, we saw that in Belgium, stress was given on dividing the power equally among different sections of the society. Therefore, there was no civil war in that country. Whereas in Sri Lanka, since power was given to one particular group of people, therefore that led to imbalances in the society and finally led to a civil war. Now, there are two reasons why we think that power sharing is desirable. One is prudential reason and the second one is moral reason. The basic difference between these two are, the prudential reason stresses that power sharing will bring out better outcomes, whereas moral reason emphasizes the very act of power sharing as valuable. So both the reasons say the same thing, that power sharing is essential and beneficial in order to have a stable as well as a safe environment in the society. Now let's discuss all the prudential reasons of power sharing. The first one is, it helps to reduce the possibility of conflict between social groups. Conflict means dispute. So when a power is shared equally in the society, then there are less chances of conflicts between different social groups. When there are less chances of conflict, there would be stability, that is, a balance would be maintained into the political order. That is what is talks about in the second point. That is, it is a good way to ensure the stability of political order. The third point is, imposing the will of the majority may look like an attractive option in the short run, but in the long run, it undermines the unity of the nation. This means that when a majority is given more power, then it might look that it would solve the problem in the present time in the short run. But in the longer run, that creates disunity into the nation, that creates disunity into the society. That was the case in Sri Lanka, whereas in Belgium we saw that how civic order was brought into the society. The last point for prudential reason is tyranny of the majority. Tyranny means cruelty. Cruelty of the majority is not just oppressive for the minority, it often brings ruin to the majority as well. So when a majority is given more power, they might become cruel, they might suppress the minority, which would ruin the nation into the long run. Now let's discuss the moral reasons. Power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. A democratic government is one wherein individual has to be consulted and how they are to be governed. So when power is equitable distributed into the society, it enhances the very need and the importance of democracy. A legitimate government is one where citizens, through participation, acquire a stake in the system. A government is considered a legal government only when it gives all its citizens a stake into the system. Means they have also got right into the system because the power has been given to them also. Therefore, these are the moral reasons for which we feel that power sharing is. Now let's discuss the various forms of power sharing. The first one is horizontal power sharing. Next, vertical power sharing. Third, power sharing among social groups. The last one, power sharing among pressure groups and political parties. In the previous slides, we discussed why there is a need for power sharing. Now let's discuss what are the various ways in which a power is shared, which can also be called as a various forms of power sharing. Okay, so the first form of power sharing is horizontal distribution of power. Power is divided between legislature, executive, judiciary. Legislature is the law-making body, executive which executes the law made by the legislature, and judiciary which sees that there is proper enforcement of the law. When we say legislature at the central level, it includes Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and the President. Executive, in my first module also I had explained it to you that there are two kinds of executive. One is the political executive and the other is the permanent executive. Judiciary, it includes Supreme Court, High Courts and the other lower courts. The second form of power sharing is the vertical distribution of power. That is, the power is divided between three parts: central government, the state government and the local government. Central government in India, it is ruled from the center, that is from New Delhi. Different states have different state governments. The state government is further divides its power to the various local bodies. The local government, which is also called as the Panchayati Raj, that is in itself is a three-tier of government, that is at the village level, at block level and at district level. So at the vertical level we have three kinds of power sharing, that is with the central government, state government and the local government. Now the third form of power sharing is among different social groups. That is, socially and weaker sections of the society must also get a share of power, just like we saw in Belgium that there was a community government which was formed. In India, it is done by the way of reservations. You must have seen that in the competitive exams for the jobs, there are reservations for SC, ST, OBC and other minority communities. So power is shared among different social groups. Different countries have their different setup in order to share power with the different social groups. The last form of power sharing is among different political parties, pressure groups and movements. No political party enjoys the power forever. For example, just now BJP is in power. Before this Congress was in power. You never know, in the next election some other party would come into power. So it is for the people to decide who should be in power. The one who gets the majority vote comes into power. With the emergence of coalition government, many parties share power at the same time. Now first of all, you must understand here what is a coalition government. Coalition governments is those which are formed with two or more parties together. Now in India, with the emergence of so many political parties, it becomes very difficult for one party to get the maximum number. So most of the time coalition governments are formed. Pressure groups and movements have also have the share in power by exerting pressure on the government. In the last lesson of political science, you would be studying about the pressure groups in details, how they exert pressure on the government by various means in order to get their policies framed in their favor. I hope you understood the entire lesson which was discussed by me in 3 modules. In the last module, again few questions which you would be writing into your notebooks. Again I repeat it, those who wish to write in their own words can go ahead and write it. For others, the answer is also given. Now the first question for this module is, explain 2 reasons as to why power sharing is desirable. Here we would be mentioning both the prudential reason and the moral reason. There are times when a comparative study would be asked that you write and compare between the prudential and moral reasons. If that kind of a question is asked, in that case you must make a tabular column and answer accordingly. Next question for the module is, sharing of power makes a country more powerful and united. Do you agree with the statement? Why? Now in this question you have to write the answer, why is power sharing desirable? Now I hope all of you have understood it. This was the last module for this lesson. Therefore in this I have given one question as a homework. The question for homework is state the various forms of power sharing. In this you would be writing about horizontal power sharing, vertical power sharing among social groups, and last one, power sharing among pressure groups and political parties. So I think students, you have understood the lesson. Anyways, wherever you have a query, do write your doubts on the YouTube link. If need be, do write your phone number. I'll get back to you on WhatsApp and I'll send the answer for your queries. I hope all of you are staying safely and all of you are staying inside your houses and must help your parents in this difficult time. Cooperate with them, stay at home and stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you, students.